Battle of the Challenges podcast with Vincent Cloud and special guest star
David Lauer.
David the Lauer. David Paz Lauer.
I couldn't decide if I wanted to reveal my last name on here now.
Oh, really?
Well, I already did, so cat's out of the bag.
No, it's fine. I could edit all this out. It's funny because Matt, in a way, does that as well. He goes by DJ Matty Nice.
Yeah,
so
that's
you
a weird
come up with the DJ. Yeah, I was like, where the fuck did that come from? Episode 1, I press record. I'm like, okay, Battle of the Challenges podcast with Vincent Cloud. He's like, and Matt, DJ Matty Nice. I'm like, what? Oh, all right. And he's called himself that ever since. Call yourself something.
I don't know if I want to have a silly moniker like Matt needs to. You know, I can be myself. I know, but DJ Matty Nice, it seems childish. I'll just go with my actual name. I don't need to be called like The Miz or anything.
This is the episode 6 review of Battle of the Exes 2. We'll start off with Jordan and Sarah at the very beginning saying they feel like it doesn't matter who's in the final with them. They can take on whoever. Those are the couple in red. Sarah was the one with the braids. You know who I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Jordan and Sarah? Okay.
Yep.
Now,
she was the one puking on the hill later.
Yes. She's kind of in the middle tier. She's like a second string almost. I know there's a lot of Sarah fans out there, but I feel like Sarah fans have been brainwashed subliminally just because Sarah keeps on doing a bunch of them. And she's been DQ'd twice because of shitty partners. One of her partner sexually harassed some other player, so he got ejected out of the game.
Yeah.
And so then she had to. Then another time, the most recent time, the last time we saw her friend got in a fight, which you're not supposed to do, so she got kicked out, and then she had to go with her, or her partner got in a fight. Oh. She's talking about, like, it doesn't matter who we take on in the final. She's been in 3 finals. She hasn't won. Her first final, she was a runner-up. She lost. Her second final, she DQ'd. Her third final, she got 3rd place. I don't know, Sarah. I don't know where all this peppy, like, oh, I'm loving this. We're doing so good. I'm so great. I'm so blah, blah, blah.
Do you think she's a little too overconfident? She hasn't proven herself.
That's exactly what is going to be on her tombstone. She was too overconfident. Sarah is like, almost like Bo Dallas, where she's like, you just got to believe. Like, she's very soccer mom-esque.
Is she a believer?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't believe in her, though. She comes off as like a pep squad cheerleader type. Like, she'll root for you all day. But then when she performs, she probably expects me to root for her right back, but I know she's not that good. So let's start off with the very first mission, Don't Forget About Me, where the guy is going to pull on a rope to open a 300-pound latch, a latch door, so that the female partner can memorize the puzzle sequence. Once the door closes, they have to go up the mountain, which is a half-an-hour trek, and they have to try and reassemble the puzzles there, or the female does. The female has to hold the burden of the mind.
The chicks got to do all the memorization. But the one thing that was sometimes that they did do was they would holler a sequence of colors to the guy so the guy could remember it.
Yeah, Brittany did that
smart.
to Adam, but we'll see that Adam, he doesn't want to help her. He's just like, no, you do it. Like, he's struggling with that door. He does not want to help. I personally feel like Adam was just using that as an excuse that he doesn't have to do any of the work. If they do lose, it's all on her. This is a guy who, this is his first season, but he's defined himself by just ripping on his ex, Brittany. They'll make out, and then the next day he'll be like, oh yeah, that's nothing. She's psycho. She's obsessed with me. But then he'll go to her again, make out some more, and say like, oh yeah, she won't leave me alone.
Does he have like a split personality?
No, I think he's just full of shit in that way.
He's just completely phony.
It's entertaining to watch because it's like, oh, you asshole. He's doing a lot more with his ex than, say, Wes and Teresa. But this provides some problems with the latch and the door and stuff. Well, first of all, it's 300 pounds on a rope. And Jordan, as the fans know, he doesn't have a left hand. It's basically just the palm of his hand and his thumb sticking out.
He doesn't have a hand?
No.
I didn't know this.
That's why he kept on saying, I don't know how much of this is going to bear on my wrist. He kept on referring
he kept talking about his bad wrist. I didn't know he didn't have a hand.
Yeah. He has...
I just thought, like, oh, he has, like, a weak arm.
this is going to be all forearms, and we all know that my left isn't very good. Jordan ends up having to, just to take it easier on his wrist, take his shirt off, wrap it around his wrist, and then wrap the rope out around that and pull this 300-pound latch door. Thing is, though, Jordan's always been like a super competitive guy. It's almost like to a fault where like his biggest handicap isn't his hand, it's his pride. He runs his mouth a lot. He tries to be the best competitor there. I mean, that's something to enjoy. He was really gung-ho this episode, like laughing, running down the hill, and he was telling Sarah, like, catch me if you can, until she started to slow down. But that's one of the defining things about Jordan is he doesn't have a hand, and he doesn't mention too much, but you can tell that he's overcompensating for something, just because of how of an ego he has and how he tries to show off in all the missions.
You think his personality is the way it is because he's handicapped?
He's kind of an arrogant asshole. Plenty of guys are like that as it is. But the fact that he's probably had to deal with this shit, like people doubting him all his life, that it just kind of boosted that mentality and that behavior. Like, that's just where he's at now. But that's cool. Like, that's something to watch. I wish you would have noticed that he didn't have a hand.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I guess that would have kind of dramatized the show a little bit more for you.
You should have narrated this.
But you know what, though? You wouldn't guess that anything was wrong with Jordan. You would assume it was Sarah, who had like a bug virus or something, because she's slowing down, she's throwing up.
I agreed with him getting pissed off at her for her not being able to just go up that hill.
Yeah.
It's like, that's
Sarah,
not the most physically demanding thing. The guys are doing the physically demanding thing by lifting up that 300-pound latch door.
Mm-hmm. To me, that's just Sarah. She thinks she's so, and everyone does, except for me, I guess. Everyone thinks that
she's so what?
So great. Like, she feels like she could headline WrestleMania. She feels like she deserves to be in the final because she's so good, or that she's done so many. That doesn't mean that you're great if you've done so many challenges, because there's plenty of challenges that you're called up for just because A, you answered the phone, you answered the call, and B, you just happen to hook up with Jordan, who's a lot more interesting, and now you could be like, oh, you guys are exes now. Jordan and Sarah never had a relationship outside of a hookup once. So the term exes is kind of stretching it, you know?
Oh.
The thing that they have in common is that they're full of themselves. They are their biggest cheerleaders. So the fact that they're together is interesting.
That's a good team dynamic, though, because then they don't have a lot of the excess baggage and bullshit that other teams who were, like, seriously dating for a long time.
Yeah.
You build up a lot of fucking angst and fucking anger and bitterness towards that person.
I mean, they weren't yelling and screaming at each other and just low blows and cutting each other like
it was
Zach
him
and
trying
John
to
Hay.
It was him trying to motivate her to get her ass in gear
Mm-hmm.
and move it, and I was okay with that because it was his style of trying to get her to fucking get up and go.
But when this is all going down, Wes and Teresa just glide on by.
They were dominating.
They get it done. Just cool and collected. Teresa says that she really likes the fact that they have such a good relationship, especially under pressure. These two, they hooked up several seasons ago. The very first season I ever watched, so to me, this couple is pretty, it's nostalgic. The very first season was Fresh Meat 2, and there's Wes being an asshole, and there's Teresa wanting to get with either Wes or Kenny, the good guy. She ends up going with Wes, and now they're back together.
Kenny's
like,
the good guy?
I remember this shit. Yeah, well, Kenny's not even in here. But...
Well, yeah. I have a hard time imagining Wes as a bad guy.
Yeah? Oh, no. A lot of people do not like Wes.
Really?
Trust me, I am in the minority when I say I like Wes.
He seems very likable to me.
I'm glad that you're on the camp. A lot of people side with Bananas, for example. Like
Well, he wasn't in this episode at all, so I never got to see him.
I compared Bananas to Tom Brady and the Patriots, where he wins all the time, but it's always kind of shitty how he does it.
Kind of shady, where there's...
Yeah. Not to say Wes is
videotaping practices or deflating footballs or something shady going on. Exactly. You're like, I don't know if you're that good.
Yeah, or jizzing on Giselle, you know? But he's out of the game, but he's still technically not. He's in that exile thing, so he's still in the game. So all the Bananas fans, which to me seems like legions of them, they're just like, oh, he's still there. Because Wes won the last episode and threw Bananas in, and there's always been the Team Wes versus Team Bananas, so it was kind of cool to see them go head to head a little bit. Wes says, I really feel like a piece of meat today. They're just using me for my good looks and brute strength. So they win. They get first place. This is their third win this season. They're doing really well. After they win, they're like, this is a mini final, but everyone just saw us clock them, and now our target is even bigger. If this was your first challenge, you would probably be in a alliance with Wes, because he's the guy who gathered all the rookies this season. He's like, hey, just side with me, and we'll go against Bananas and Zach and Jordan and Johnny, because rookies are usually the first ones to go in. It's like a tradition. But with his guidance and with his protection...
He took them under their wing.
Yeah, exactly.
His wing. Yeah.
It's pretty sweet. So you would be part of his thing. You probably would, because otherwise you would just go in first.
If you're a noob, you gotta go in there with trying to get an alliance with somebody, stick around. You gotta make friends. You gotta be somebody's lackey for a little while, work your way up the ranks.
Yeah, you gotta make beds. You gotta make the beds and shit like Avery was with Wes. Alright, so leading up to this was the whole puzzle fiasco. Sarah was saying, like, hey, don't get them confused. At the very top of the hill was where they had to put the pieces together, and everyone's setting the pieces together right next to each other. Leroy and I accidentally take one of Jordan and Sarah's pieces. They dropped all the pieces. Leroy and I accidentally grabbed the piece, put it in their bag, and then when they get to the bottom, they drop the bags right next to Jay and Jenna's. They pick Jay and Jenna's up instead, because they weren't paying attention. Like, why the fuck would you drop your pieces right next to someone else's? So Sarah and Jordan are at the top, and they're like, we just need one. We just need one more piece. And Sarah's like jumping up and down. She's like, come on. And then Jordan's like, where the fuck was all this energy on the hill? They say a wrestler's worst enemy is time off. And maybe that's the same thing with Sarah.
It is. Too much time off. She's a part-timer now.
Leroy and they finally get up the hill, and they put their stuff together, but they don't have the missing piece that Jordan and Sarah need. So they have to wait for Jay and Jenna to finally get up the hill. And I felt pretty good I felt pretty proud of Jay for hanging in there. He was a light guy. He could barely, who knows, maybe it was like double his fucking weight or something. Jay, the little guy, he was nearly completely horizontal pulling on that rope. And he was on one foot, and he had the other leg up for leverage. He was just yanking it like that. So finally, it's getting dark, and they're just like, hey, whoever doesn't get enough correct is just going to go into the dome. By this time, Sarah and Jordan finally get their piece from Jay and Jenna. But Jay and Jenna, Johnny, Riley, and Avery, Zach and John A., and Adam and Brittany, they have to keep going. They get one last fucking chance at it. Johnny, Riley, and Avery, they did pretty well. You were the one that said he comes off as like an immature guy. I'm like, oh.
Well, he does, because she mentioned something like from their past, and like her not liking a certain person from the past. Yeah. And even if you recognize that they're doing that, you don't fucking play into it and get into a fight over it. You just ignore it. Just move on like a mature person. Be like, whatever, I'm not going to get into that because there's no good is going to come from that. But instead he just was petty and bitchy and whiny about it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, she's bringing it up, but then you can't play into it.
Yeah, that's true. Especially since you're going to be going into a dome where you have to work together.
Yeah.
You don't think that you would want to keep morale up. Zach and John A. Now this is the big hulking guy with the little bitty chick, and they're in the light blue jerseys, and he's just ripping on her. Like, you didn't feel any kind of sympathy or whatever to him. Like, you felt like it was all on him.
He seemed very stupid to me.
Alright, so Zach is being really stupid to John A. And I agree, though. He's not helping the cause for the team. He's being very negative. He starts complaining about how the grid looks, how she's putting it together. He's like,
it looks like you're just throwing them up.
It doesn't matter. Like, as long as the pieces are somewhat together, in the end, she could come in and put them all in a tighter position. But she's just generalizing the spots. Yeah, he can't help it but to rip on her. Like, he's done this all season. I don't know. He's relentless.
Because if you act like that, you're not going to end up winning any. You're just always going to end up failing and just hoping you can eke by at the end. You're not going to have any chance at finishing the actual challenge.
I mean, he's saying this and that, like, this hill is hell and you're the devil. And Johnny's like, you know what? I'd rather go to the dome and go home than do this with you. And she basically said on the hill, she's like, I want to quit. Which, I mean...
Which he was pushing her buttons the whole way, trying to get her to do that.
Yeah.
So, like, once she said it, I was like, yeah, that's probably a typical response the way he was acting towards her.
And, you know, he's still saying, like, oh, you're going to quit? Why? Because I won't baby you like everyone else in your life? It's like one of those really low blows. Like, clearly that's a personal thing that you're talking about, and you're kind of insulting her life.
If my partner that I was with was saying shit like that, I'd be like, fuck you, I'm quitting. There's no way I'm going to try and help you win. I would rather bring you down.
Another lap later, they're at the very bottom. John A's like, promise me if we go into the dome, you're not going to quit on me. And Zach's like, oh no, you wanted to quit earlier. Again, she's trying to kind of maybe get back in some sort of positive relationship. She's trying to make another connection of saying, hey, if we go in the dome, we got to fight there. And he's like, oh no, maybe I will quit because you wanted to quit. It just keeps getting worse. And she's just like, well, I wanted to quit because I don't want to fucking win this with you. And Zach's like, oh, like you deserve the money.
Yeah, he's very childish.
We'll get to Adam and Brittany, who ultimately get last place. Why? Because Adam doesn't want to help her remember the puzzle pieces. He doesn't want to be the one responsible for the loss. He'd rather have her take the heat than try and not lose.
Who's Adam now? I don't remember what he looks like.
Well, remember when he came out to the pool and he's like, hey, why are you tanning out here?
Oh,
Remember that? That's
guy.
him.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the same guy who went into the dome.
Okay. Yeah, he's kind of a douchebag.
Yeah.
I kind of agreed with him at some points, but he was not a very likable.
He's from another show, actually. So some people don't even like him anyways. Yeah, this is the first in Are You the One? It's a show that no one really watched either, but it's from the same producers. That was the shocking part. They were like, oh, these are exes, but from an entirely different show. So a lot of people didn't really care for them. Fans, too, they're still up in arms about it. They're like, yeah, how dare they? Fuck you, the ones. So at Power Couple Dinner, Wes is like, all right, what do you want me to do? Because I think that Johnny Riley and Avery are going to beat Adam and Brittany in a dome. He is kind of concerned because he has an alliance with Adam and Brittany. They're rookies. Like I said, he made this huge alliance with all the rookies. He wants to help them out a little bit, but he also has ties with Sarah and Jordan and Zach and John A. The other two times that he won, he shook hands with them. He's like, listen, down the road, if you win or if I win, we don't say each other's names. So he has an alliance with two other groups of people, plus the rookies that he started at the very beginning. So really, Wes had no choice to either choose Johnny Riley or Leroy Knight because he hasn't made any deals. He's got to take one of those two out. He was like, Johnny Riley is the most connected in the house. It's scary because true friendships are almost impossible to break alliance-wise. Johnny in particular was in the Banana Boat, a.k.a. friends with Johnny Bananas, before he got eliminated. So Wes is like, I remember that shit, man. You took Banana's side. And everyone knows Wes and Bananas, like, they're oil and water. So someone's going to have to pay the piper. So they tell Avery that. This is the part where Avery brings up Johnny Riley and she's like, hey, we're going to go in. And it's not my fault, it's your fault because you were friends with Bananas.
Basically, that's like the equivalent of like 1950s America where you're like, oh, you're a commie. You've talked to the Russians, you're a commie.
Yeah.
Once you get labeled, you're associated with Johnny Bananas, you're tainted forever.
That's some straight up
He's a
McCarthyism
sympathizer.
right
Yeah,
there.
you can't be a sympathizer.
Avery says, hey, Johnny, it's all your fault, basically, and Johnny Riley is pretty fed up with it because he's like, I can't ever have a conversation with the girl because she's still a little kid, like she can do no wrong and it's all Johnny's fault. I could kind of see that. I've had relationships where the arguments is like, oh, it's always me, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you did. It matters how I reacted to what you did. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain relationships where someone is never in the wrong. He's trying to say that's how Avery is. I love Avery. Like, she's fucking hot as hell. Like, I've said that plenty of times while watching it. But being hot doesn't mean like you're fucking perfect. We all know this. In fact, some people might say most hot chicks are fucking crazy because they're so out of touch with reality because everything's given to them.
And it's not always just hot chicks. It's also people who are born into a lot of money and they just get everything handed to them. They don't really have to work for anything.
Yes.
And the same works for really good looks. If you're just getting people's love and attention and you didn't really have to fucking put any work into it, you don't have to try as much to get shit accomplished. And if you don't have to, you don't build character unless you're really working hard. Yeah.
I've built plenty of character. And I've also had a lot of things handed to me, so I don't know. Kind of in the middle. I'm a day walker, I think. So finally, we're at deliberations where Wes and Teresa, now the power couple, have to announce who's going to go against the losing couple, Adam and Brittany. Before that, like I said, Adam starts bitching at Brittany for being out in the sun. And Brittany, she's like, I wish I could just hold you under the pool until the bubbles stop. Like, I'm so through with it. And to me, I'm with her. Like, obviously you haven't seen the seasons leading up to this, but Adam is just like, he just plays her a certain way. Like, well, they'll dance and they'll make out on the dance floor, but then as soon as they get on the bus going back to the house, she tries to cuddle up to him, touch him or whatever. He's like, oh, what the fuck? Get off me, bitch. Like, that sort of thing. It's just really kind of annoying. And she's at her wit's end. You know, she's like, get the fuck, like, who gives a shit if I'm in the sun? I mean, I would be super annoyed with it, whether X or otherwise, just how you would try and play me off on camera. I would get annoyed if someone tried to do that. Like, hey, Vince, you're awesome. Like, hey, right back at you, man. And then he's like, what's up with right back at you, man? Like, this is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard of. I've said it before, but Brittany really came around, I don't know, really started to dig her as of late. But they finally say, Wes is like, all right, we're going to put Johnny Riley in because he has got a lot of friends in the house. And we're putting in Avery because his partner kind of drugged into all this. It was awesome because Wes is like, I make it clear to Avery that this is all Johnny's fault. That way, she's not going to forget it. And they're going to have a hard time in the dome working together. I thought that was pretty devious. He could play a political game, a physical game, obviously, and a psychological game, man. I thought that was nice. A nice little touch. And now it's time for the dome. And the dome, it's called Stacking Up. And it's kind of cool, also kind of cheap. They got little boxes,
crates,
little milk crates. Little milk crates, painted. Paint starts chipping right off as soon as you start climbing them. But the girls are in charge of stacking up the stacks one by one while the guy's on top of it, which after a while I was like, that might be kind of hard. You know, because would you be constantly balancing and then kind of hunched over, you know?
Yeah, you'd have to evenly distribute your weight so you're not leaning at all. You just... It'd be very hard to do, plus trying to stack another one. You're climbing it, all just trying to not shift your weight too much.
Yeah. Johnny Riley is like, you know what? Slow and steady wins the race. We're going to go as slow as possible because even though Adam is taller than me, he's goofy and unbalanced. And you could kind of see it. Adam's just kind of like falling all over the place. They actually topple over before the dreaded to be continued.
They hobbled over and then they built it right back up like immediately.
They did.
And then seemed like the photo finish. It seemed like the one guy was going to get it, and I was pretty sure, but then they just cut away. To be continued.
Dave was immediately upset by it.
I really enjoyed that whole episode, and that ending was such a bummer. I honestly question whether I'd even watch this show anymore, because if they're going to pull shit like that, it's like, I just invested like a half hour watching your show, and then the finish is, sorry, no finish.
It was very controversial to the hardcore fans as well.
Yeah, it's kind of a middle finger, feels like.
Mm-hmm. But there were theories that they were trying to pimp out the Exile, the online losers round. So basically, whoever loses this between Johnny and Avery and Adam and Brittany are going to go online on MTV.com, and where Johnny Bananas, everyone's fucking favorite, I don't like him, by the way. I don't. I really don't.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, Bananas and Nani are waiting there. They've been in the house for about 2 weeks, something like that. They defeated the people before them.
So they're the only people there now?
Yeah. Keep in mind, no one in the game right now knows about this loser round. Everyone's just assuming they're being eliminated, and they walk off, like always. But then, if you go online...
Then they go to this cabin in the woods.
There's the loser round. Immediately after this cliffhanger, they aired this half an hour to an hour long special of just all the exiles, just showing every single elimination round and who's still there. And obviously it's everyone's fan favorite, Bananas and Nani, or Bananas anyways. No one gives a shit about Nani. I don't, especially.
I have no idea who she is.
Oh yeah, dude.
Do I
oh
want
my
to know?
god, no. It's like they let this train wreck on TV, but she gets a good edit. But you could just tell that, no, she's horrible. She drinks way too much. She gets in arguments for like 5 hours long with friends during drunken nights out. Like 5 hours, man. She cheats on her so-called boyfriends, and that she cries about it. She's like, I don't know why I do it.
She's like a basket case.
Yeah. But she's linked with Bananas, everyone's favorite, so thus there's a lot of Nani love this season.
All the Nani lovers, they're ignorant, right?
Ignorant. Straight ignorant. So whoever loses this, which not even shown, of course there's controversy because it's not like Johnny and Avery are everyone's fan favorites, or Adam and Brittany. It's an odd place to have a cliffhanger. Very odd. But my big theory, right away, is that they cut it in half for two things. One, to promote the Exile. One of the stars is in right now. Not a lot of people are tuning into it. That's why they got to promote it for only $9.99. It was very Vince McMahon.
How are they promoting it by doing this?
The thing is, though, it has nothing to do with this episode. What it has to do is the scheduling. After this episode ends on a cliffhanger, then they air the special. They're like the Exile special. I don't remember what it's called. But that was basically to function as promoting what's going on online, which no one's paying attention to, and to also remind fans that Bananas actually isn't eliminated. He's still around. A lot of fans are mad, and the ignorant fans don't even know he's still technically in the game. It's just a bullshit cut on this episode because the next episode shows up, and it's because the mission was super short, a trivia challenge, which people love trivia, but it's like, it's not physical. Like, you just see these people try to say, who's on the face of the dime?
Eisenhower.
Oh, that's what someone said. That was what they said, but no, it's,
Is it not? I don't...
Shit, who is it? FDR? So you have a mission that's super short, it's a trivia challenge. That was all of next episode, where it's like you're wrapped up on a rope or in a blanket, and you're tied up, and you have to answer a question. They're all random. It's not like everyone has to answer the same question. It's like, hey Dave, who's on the dime? And you're like, I don't know.
Some people get hard questions. Some people get
the next one will be like, spell libido.
Oh,
can you spell libido?
I probably couldn't.
Try it right now. Just try it.
Libido, Libido.
Oh,
I don't see. I have no idea.
It's Libido.
Oh,
it
okay.
seems way too short. You know what I mean? But anyways, that next episode, it's a super short mission. It's just trivia, and there's only 6 teams left.
Oh,
that's what I mean by it's super short, because as soon as one team's gone, there's only 5 teams, and blah, blah, blah. And then the dome was super long-winded. That's why I think that's the other reason why they had a cliffhanger, so they could have a dome at the very beginning, a very short mission, and then a very long-winded dome at the very end. And that's what it boils down to. The challenges aren't as huge as they once were. Like when Miz and Coral were on it, they had actual pop songs that you could hear on the radio and on MTV and music videos. They were on the challenge. And now it's very generic, very like, you never heard of these bands that are playing on the challenge now. There's barely any prize money. Wes and Teresa won. Did they get any prize money? Or a cell phone, or a TV, or a skateboard like back in the old days? No.
You don't win anything?
They were just given protection from elimination, and they get to pick who goes into an elimination. There used to be a lot of cool prizes, man. Just
really?
Like, they're like, hey, whoever wins this gets a weekend in Hawaii. You're like, oh shit, awesome. So you would get stoked. Now it's kind of on the decline. The challenge is more underground.
It's you're playing for pride.
That's where the challenge is right now, though. You see Wes on this thing? I'm surprised Wes is even on the show. He's my favorite, but like, he's done quite a bit of it. Bananas, he's been on, I think this is his 11th challenge. So is CT, this is a 11th challenge.
And fans are not like completely sick of these people at this point?
The thing is that the new guys don't impress. It's like, we're tired of Cena, but then, okay, well, who do you want to show? Good.
I feel like this has got to be the producers not going out and getting the best competition for them. I feel like there are people out there who would be able to take them out.
You would think, but you know what? That's the other thing. In the past handful of challenges, no one new has won in a long time. It's mostly Bananas, the guy who wins all the time, or CT and Wes, who won recently. For a while, people were like, oh, Bananas on the show again. But now people are singing a different tune. They're like, yeah, it's Bananas. It's not a challenge without him. That's just because we're not given anyone else to root for. Besides the usual now, it's CT, Wes, and Bananas. They're thrown in every season, and they go against each other, and, you get knocked out. So it's like, that's the show now.
These guys are they're going to go, and you're not going to have anyone to step in. And you're all of a sudden just going to have rookies, and you're going to try and feature them on the show.
Yeah. Consider this, man. CT, who we compared him to Brett Favre. Super long career, has a championship ring, but he's such an old man now. In MTV standards, producers are like, you know what? We need these guys who are going to give us what we want. Cool stuff on TV, cool things on the camera, who could rock the mic.
They like the experienced veterans. They know what they're doing in the interviews. They know how to go about stuff for the cameras.
Yeah.
They work well in that environment, and they know how to give the camera something.
The only guy who isn't these typical veterans is Zach. He's the only other guy who's won recently. He won the season where no veterans were on there. It was all rookies. It was basically, that was NXT. So he won NXT. He's KO. He's Kevin Owens. As soon as he gets to WWE, he's got to deal with Cena and all this other shit. So he's not as huge as like Wes, Bananas, and CT. All in all, it seemed like you enjoyed it until the dreaded ending, which
that ending really just zapped everything for me. It made me so freaking disappointed that I got all invested. I'm like, oh, what's gonna happen? And now I still don't know, and it's like, should I even find out?
Maybe you could be a one and done
Pisses me off.
Guest star.
I might be.
You'll just do this one.
Did we even mention why I'm here?
Because
your co-host is not here.
We never did. I just realized that.
DJ Matty Ice? Matty Nice?
Nice.
Matty Nice.
DJ Matty Nice, by the by.
He's self-titled DJ Matty Nice. No one has ever called him that, other than himself.
Maybe we shouldn't show the behind the scenes. Maybe people want DJ Matty Nice to be an actual DJ in their mind or something, where he is far from it in reality.
We're destroying the illusion that he's actually a DJ.
Or nice.
Well, I thought he would be Matty Ice because he's so cold-blooded.
Oh,
he's definitely not nice.
Hey, we just talked about this, how, like, he admitted he was an asshole on the last podcast, so it's fine.
Oh, well, okay.
But no,
that's good.
DJ Matty Nice is sick, face down in a ditch somewhere. No, he's sick. He got bronchitis.
No, I'm concerned for him.
He got bronchitis. He can't speak. Either that, or he sold his voice.
He's not gonna have like pneumonia and die, is he?
He could.
Really?
I don't know. No. I'm trying to sell tickets. I'm trying to get the listeners like, what? DJ Matty Nice is going to die?
You're like Brian Williams here. I don't know whether to believe the story or not.
Oh, the relevancy. Hopefully I'm not suspended with no pay. It's interesting because producers, I feel, didn't like Bananas for a while. One of the greatest eliminations of all time is Bananas versus CT. And it's on YouTube. You can look it up if you want. But like, it's so crazy to watch, and it's because producers wanted Bananas out of there because they don't like him. In fact, I feel like a lot of people didn't like him. But then he came back.
Are they trying to rig it against him, or how?
CT was like a ringer. He wasn't in the season of Cutthroat. This is the challenge Cutthroat. Bananas is in there, and every single time you go against another person. Against the opposing team in an elimination round. In this one, they were like, oh, Bananas versus Tyler. Instead, both of you are going to go against CT, and whoever does the best against him wins. And CT, like, if you know him, he's like this human transformer, and he's tied to the back of Bananas. Tyler later, but at first, Bananas. And whoever can pull their way to the other side wins. You gotta hit the barrel on the other side. CT literally just stands up with Johnny Bananas taped to his back and just walks all the way to the other barrel, and it's the most shocking thing I've ever seen, reality or otherwise. I was like, holy fuck.
You didn't think he'd be strong enough to do that?
No, I know he was strong. It was just another elevation of his strength. Plus, it was Bananas.
Such dominance over...
Some people were just like, oh yeah, fuck you, Bananas, you know? But since then, Bananas has come back from that humiliating defeat to win.
But that's just...
Three
that's just
champions later, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, that challenge that's just a demonstration of total strength and size.
Yeah.
That's all that is.
See,
There's
again, that goes again to production being like, we don't really like you. Other challengers don't like him either, for the most part. Other challengers were like, he's annoying, you know, he's an asshole, and this and that. But he would win. So now I feel like fans nowadays think that he's so great, but I'm like, I've seen his other challenges, and I hated him. His very first championship win was so shitty and so one-sided. He basically won against a bunch of girls. There was a boat against another boat. You just had to title to an island. It was him, 2 other guys, and a girl versus a gay guy and 3 other girls.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, not at all. But it's like, it was so rigged, that ending, that he won the finale, and you're like, fuck. What the fuck, man? It's very Brady-like to me. Where it's like, it's not technically cheating. No one's said not to do this, but it's like, he always figures out that little loophole to win.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So. Deflating some balls.
Exactly, man. And now everyone, they have to promote him because he is the reigning champ. He's broken the record. The record for a long time was winning 4 challenges. He won 5.
How by who?
Darrell. He's a black, tall boxer dude. You've seen him in a few finals, but he never really leaves an impression. He's just kind of there.
I'd probably recognize him if I've seen him.
He's won 4, and that was held for a long, long time. And like I said, he's won 3 in the past 5 years. Something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's almost a dynasty, you know? It's one of the all-time greats.
Yeah, yeah. And it sucks because
he's on the Mount Rushmore of challenge winners.
Oh, he is. Holy shit.
There's 4 guys up there. It's going to be Wes, Johnny Bananas. Who else is going to be on there? CT.
The Miz.
The Miz.
Up there. Yeah,
is the Miz up there?
Although a lot of girls are going to be mad. They're like, where's Mrs. Rushmore? You know? Coral could be up there.
Are there women who deserve to be up there?
Yeah. Evelyn's really good.
Evelyn?
Yep.
How many times did she won?
3.
Ooh.
Yep.
You have to at least have 3 wins to be on the Mount Rushmore.
CT only has 1 win.
Oh.
But he's that big of a star regardless.
Okay, so it's not always about championships.
Yes,
it's about having a long, successful career.
All right, so in closing, who knows if DJ Matty Nice is coming back or not. I'm Vincent Cloud.
I'm David Lauer. Hopefully I make the team and don't get cut after training camp.
Oh, you're cut.
Oh.
No.
I'm done. I'm not coming back. All right,
No,
you
I
can
leave it up to
cycle through the next guest host on the next show.
No, I'm not going to Vince McMahon it. I'm going to listen to the fans. All right? How about that?
Maybe I'll hold out for more money.
Okay. All right. And that's it.